There was a time in my life not too long ago when I was pre-diabetic, extremely unhealthy, and feeling low energy all the time. I have to say, it's much more exciting knowing how to use food to live vibrantly, happy, and healthy every day. My name is Adam Hart, and I want to welcome you to the power of food. Hey everybody, Adam Hart, Power Food Cooking Show. Again, you're probably wondering, well, where's all the cooking happening? Today I got a special guest. I thought, well, I got my mom coming in from out of town. I got a chance to come to shoot some of the episodes for the cooking show. I thought, well, why not talk to my mom a little bit about our life together, essentially. I mean, I wrote the Power Food book, and inside the Power Food book, I talk about my story. And a big part of that is, as a child, I grew up eating a lot of processed food. And many shows, I'd share my story of growing up eating a lot of processed foods. And I think at some point in that conversation, it sounded a little bit like, oh, it's my mom's fault, or it's the family's fault. But essentially, in the end, it was me who made the choices to eat those types of foods. But I wanted to ask my mom a little bit about that experience. So let me introduce you to my mom.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me here.
My pleasure.
You've been to some of my events in the past. You know the experience that the Power Food brings to people, knowing what we grew up eating. Can you maybe explain or describe a little bit about what you kind of see as the transition from that type of food? I mean, I know that 1953 McDonald's kind of started on the scene out of California. Then we had Swanson's TV dinners started showing up, and there seemed to be a real drive towards convenience into the 70s. And I'm born 73. My sister Miriam, also born roughly around the same age. What was it like back then feeding us?
Well, initially, we grew up with totally whole foods that were very well made and very healthy, and took it for granted, I believe, and therefore we thought that whatever came about when we had our children, that was going to be totally good. It was going to be healthy, and a lot of the girls were going to university and had more choices, and eventually we would start to work, a lot of us, and it did put a little bit of pressure on the food aspect of the family. What I did find is that suddenly we had several new things coming on the scene, food-wise, entertainment-wise. We had Sesame Street, which we found was wonderful for the children. And then we found McDonald's came on the scene a little bit after you and your sister Miriam were born. And it was almost like a natural progression to just go and try these places because we had so many other things on the go.
And you didn't think for a minute that there would be anything wrong with these foods?
No. We took it for granted that anything that came out of the food industry was going to be good.
Yeah.
And it was going to be healthy. And it was going to do all the right things because after all, we were all in this together, and we just took that for granted. And before you knew it, we started to hear the rumblings that this wasn't really the best idea and what really is in it, and everybody was very taken aback because we thoroughly trusted the industry.
Do you think that is more of a recent phenomenon where people are waking up and noticing more of maybe that some of these processed foods related to the baby boomer generation? Like, do you consider yourself a baby boomer?
I am a baby boomer, and we are a large group in the population because we were all born after the Second World War.
So is there a wave of maybe the growth and understanding around nutrition and the types of foods that are available?
Absolutely, and more so today than ever. And a lot of us are into that as well and becoming much more knowledgeable. as time went on and there was more and more of our involvement in bringing these foods in the home, we started to realize this is not where you trust. This
Yeah.
is where you have to start asking questions.
So when you first discovered foods like McDonald's and I guess a lot of the processed foods in the grocery store, the things you were maybe looking for, was price was an issue?
Price is always an issue.
So flavor is an issue. I mean, kids need
Flavor,
to eat
yes,
the food.
flavor for sure.
Convenience obviously has to be part of that.
Well,
that
that's
equation.
where they got us hooked on the convenience. And it was obviously a big help with us running a home, running a family, taking care of children, husbands, multitasking even more than previous generations. And so we got hooked into that and expected that it was going to be perfectly good food. And it took us a while to realize we were hoodwinked.
So the reality is that, and many of us know this now, that those foods aren't maybe the most nutrient rich, and there might be some other options out there. I know with having young kids, you coming in and spending time with your grandkids, my kids are addicted to sugar, very much the same way that I was when I was young, and gravitate to a lot of the same packaged convenience processed foods that don't have a lot of nutritional value. So it almost seems as if the baby boomer generation has now grown to that age where their kids are gone, and now my generation, the Gen X generation, we're feeding our kids, to be honest, as much as I know about food, I still feed my kids a lot of processed foods. I'm just lucky that I have enough knowledge to be able to add in extra nutrients into some of those foods to counteract the impact. But
I don't see that when I'm at your home.
Okay, yeah.
I do not see a lot of processed foods at all.
Yeah.
I think that you can rest assured that your children are eating really, really
Yeah,
well because
yeah.
you actually go out and make sure it's organic food that you're bringing in your home. You make sure that everything that comes in your home is extremely healthy. Your children, touch my wood here, are fabulous looking children, but beautiful skin,
Yeah.
always from day one.
Yeah.
And I know I learned a lot from you myself with coconut oil and
Yeah.
all the wonderful ingredients that we really do need that I never knew about or didn't know how to take advantage of.
Yeah.
And reading your book really opened my eyes.
Yeah. How do you feel with the rise in the age of information? I mean, being in the 70s, 80s, 90s, no internet, no access to knowing, this idea of truth or not truth, but having no access to research for yourself. Now for probably 10 years now, I go to the grocery store, I pick out an item, even if it's a processed food item, and I'll research the company just to have a better idea of where it comes from. You never had that access.
No, there wasn't that access, and plus we didn't have a lot of time to start delving into reading everything. What did we have? We had the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah.
We didn't have an internet. We didn't get food shows on television.
Yeah.
We really did not have information.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I know I definitely appreciate the ability to share the knowledge around food, not only with yourself, with so many people, having grown up living with the types of foods that I ate, and it was no fault of anybody's. It was a product of the environment, which is essentially what it is for that generation. It was convenience, it was taste. Running around getting things done without access to information, you fed what you felt was the right thing to feed your kids.
Yeah.
And now we're at a state where we do have a choice. Everybody has a choice. And so,
It's much better.
Yeah, and it's great that as a grandmother, that you're you're more aware. And I see it when you're with my kids and in the kitchen. You're a little more sensitive and hyper, in tune with what's really available for all of us to feed ourselves and have a little more energy.
Well, information is the clue.
So if you were to talk to other baby boomers out there, and knowing that maybe they have grandkids, maybe they don't, but what's maybe one little tip that you can share that you've learned over the last 15 years related to food?
I've learned an awful lot through you yourself, and I see it coming through all media now, and that would be the specific changes that would benefit adding into what we eat. And with you, the best thing I learned was just add it into what you're used to.
Yeah.
And then you do feel a change, and then you do realize you don't need all the
So
foods that are
this idea
tainted.
of adding in, what's the
Yes.
main benefit that you've noticed over the years of just adding no elimination?
Well, absolutely, your weight gets better, and with your weight getting better, you feel more energy,
Yeah.
and your mind is clearer, and a lot of it tastes great.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So there you go, special guest, having my mom. Gotta give my mom a big hug. Awesome.
Love you, proud of you.
Thank you. That's the Power Food Show for this week. We'll see you guys again soon.